This is a premium session about the Japanese market. My name is Keiko Nabon. I work as a Japan Partnership Manager in Payoneer. We have today two panels discussing the expanding your business to the Japanese market. Please let me introduce our panels. Hi, Noboru-san.
Hi.
He is the Compasspoint CEO. Compasspoint is a consulting company that supports Japanese merchants to expand to the global Amazon marketplaces and also supports overseas companies to develop their e-commerce sales into the Japanese market. Hi, Hiroki-san.
Hi, Nabono-san.
He is the director of YCP Solidians. YCP Solidians focuses on Asia's business expansion for global companies. YCP covers various industries, including manufacturing, consumer and retail, automotive, energy, and more. Okay, so now we start. When we think about expanding to the Japanese market or any other market, the first thing I think about is barrier of entry. So I think we start talking about the hurdles to expand to the Japanese market. Noboru-san, for e-commerce, to be specific to Amazon Japan, the platform actually seems very similar to other global Amazon marketplaces. But I think there's quite a few uniqueness on the platform. So what are the challenges to Amazon global seller to expand to Amazon Japan?
Yes, there are several hurdles for the foreign companies to enter the Japanese market. Firstly, language. The second one is registration and approvals in Japan, and marketing and finding the partners in Japan, and quality of items, and transportation. These are issues and hurdles for you. I'll explain one by one. Firstly, language. Because you need some Japanese when you set up Amazon Seller account. Basically, you can see the Amazon Seller Central in English, but some part is written in Japanese. And when you will have some difficulties, you need to communicate with Amazon people. And many people cannot speak English and they have to use Japanese. So you need Japanese. And also, when you write the description of the item on the Amazon page, of course you need Japanese. And also, there are some reviews on item pages. I need to say, I don't recommend you to make the review by yourself, but some people making the review by themselves. And foreigners make some, how can I say, low quality Japanese reviews on the Amazon pages. Because Japanese people are very sensitive to the Japanese expression, Japanese consumers can easily figure out, oh, it's made by foreign companies or something. So Japanese is very important. And also, when you do the research in Japan market, of course, you need to read the Japanese how can I say, articles and maybe SNS or something else. All of them are written in Japanese. So, and also registration and approvals requires Japanese as well. And finally, the keywords for the advertisement inside Amazon and outside of Amazon, you need to use Japanese. If your Japanese is not good enough, the efficiency of advertisement will be very poor. So that's a language. Second one is registration and approvals. As you may know, checking and request by Amazon about registration and approvals are getting severe and severe these days. So, like, if you want to sell foods, drugs, cosmetics, or electricities, you have to check appropriate procedure That's the second one. Third one is marketing. Maybe this part, Yokoyama-san will explain, so I'll skip. So, and partners in Japan, actually, it's quite tough to find the partners in Japan who can communicate in English. The partner means like international transaction company like Payoneer or tax or transportation or registration or marketings like that. The quality of item is also very important because Japanese customer have lots of high quality items or middle class quality with very reasonable prices. So once they will buy very low quality items, they will never repeat your items again. So quality is very important. And finally, transportation. If the item is dispatched from other countries, it's not prepared by Japanese consumers because they know it takes some time and sometimes item will be lost and never receive the items. So if you want to try Japanese market, especially Amazon, you should use FBA warehouse. But for many companies, foreign companies, it's not so easy to deliver to the FBA warehouse. So that's a hurdle. Okay, it's hurdle.
Thank you, Okada-san.
Welcome.
Yeah. So I think it's important to find partners, like right partners in Japan, first step to enter to Japanese market. Okay. As for B2B business to expand to a Japanese market, I believe it's more complex. What's the primary hurdle for a global merchant? Hiroki-san, could you give your insight, please?
Yes. Okay. On the B2B market, it is very similar to Okada-san's mentioning. Business partners and end consumers demand that they communicate in Japanese and to involve you to Japanese cultural rules. And customers take it for granted that it comes with a very polite and generous after-sales follow-up for free. In all situations, Japanese common sense is very tough. And companies in Japan is very patient with low profits, and products without originality are involved in so tough battle.
What do you advise to overcome those hurdles? Do you have any tips?
The first step is to know the reality in Japan. And second step is to find the right partners. They can communicate in English, and of course they understand the Japanese rules.
I want to ask Okada-san one question. So you said probably quality is very important in Japan. So if a merchant has like kind of expensive product, but if has a high quality or uniqueness in the Japanese market, do you think this is one of the success key point in the Japanese market?
Yeah, I think so. But only on the Amazon marketplaces, it's not so easy to tell what's the story or background of this item and why this high price is appropriate or not.
I see.
So maybe outside Amazon, marketing is very important.
Right. Okay, thank you. So now we will move to the potentials in the Japanese market. Yokoyama-san, Hiroki, what do you see the significant changes in the Japanese market the last decade?
Okay, of course, the most influential issue is about COVID-19. consultation on how to substitute for overseas exhibitions and business negotiations increased. They lost their chances to go abroad. So alternative 選択肢 alternative
choices.
yeah they need alternative way to communicate with foreign country and 違う視点 and a large number of talented people have moved to venture companies in last decade. On the other hand, there are still many companies and they still living in old styled economy like us 20th century. This is very strange.
I see.
Only in Japan.
Yeah, I think Japan is known as like a keeping kind of a modest way to like we love traditional and now it's maybe stage to change it dramatically.
In good words, very traditional, and in not good words, they didn't challenge. And even new venture companies, their shareholders don't tend to want them to go and challenge in overseas business.
That's
Because
interesting.
business in overseas is very tough for Japanese because they are poor at English. And Japanese market is big. So they need to concentrate in Japanese market. So venture don't do adventure.
I see. What do you see are potentials for overseas companies, overseas merchant to enter to a Japanese market? What is the potential there?
Potential is very. There are many rooms in Japan, especially niche business. But only Chinese and Korean companies fill out the space. So if you challenge with a right partner, I think you can find your space in Japan.
Interesting. Okada-san, for especially in 2020, we are all impacted by the pandemic, and the e-commerce grows globally. What are the specific changes and potential in the Japanese market?
After COVID-19, the rate of EC is growing in Japan, just like other countries. So I can show you some materials. So may I share my screen?
Sure.
So this is the market size of e-commerce in Japan. Japan domestic EC market is like 184 billion. Then the growth rate is like 7.65% 2019. But 2020, this growth rate is much higher because of COVID-19. This is just for reference. This is B2C EC market size. And this is Amazon sales trends in comparison of Germany, UK, and Japan. So its growth rate is very similar. And the market volume is growing in each country.
So this slide is specific, Okada-san. So it means Japanese market has more space to grow in Amazon because obviously German and the UK has a bigger size of the market. compared to Japan, but I guess potential in especially this is especially for Amazon, but Japan has more space to grow compared to other markets.
Definitely. I agree with that because EC rate is still very low in Japan compared to other countries. Like UK is much higher rate, I guess. So Japan has much potential to grow. And this is the comparison of major platforms in Japan. Amazon is the first, and the second is Rakuten. The third is Yahoo. I forgot in China, Rakuten is kind of different pronunciation, but it's Rakuten. As you see, Amazon is still number one, and the growth rate is also number one, I guess. So there are lots of chance. And as you can see, the initial cost is very small compared with Rakuten. And for foreign companies, Rakuten is kind of tough because basically, they request a Japanese company. So Amazon is much easier for the foreign companies to start.
When your company, Compasspoint, support consulting for overseas companies, do you see an increase in overseas companies interested in the Japanese market?
Yes, much more. And before talking about it, I want to add some points. Because Japanese people usually have a credit card and smartphones, even if they have no experience to having the EC, purchasing on EC, they can easily start using EC. So circumstances good. And in addition, in Japan, there are so many old people, and many of them are living in countryside. So EC is a kind of lifeline for them. So I think EC market will grow more. So next, I want to reply to your question. These days, we receive lots of inquiry from all over the world. Some of them are United States, some of them are Canada, some Middle East countries. Some of them are from Africa, and also from EU countries as well. They are very much interested in Japanese market, but they don't know how to start. That's it. So.
Thank you. So I now want to hear about the gaps among the business culture between Japan and others. Both of you work in a global business environment. What do you feel most of the gaps?
Japanese people say like, okay, but it doesn't mean okay, right? Okay means, okay, I understand what you said, but don't mean I okay and we'll have a contract or something. It's different things. So foreign company maybe misunderstand. Japanese people say, okay, but what happens? Like that. It's a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
And
I think it's indeed a good point. Like when we do meeting or conference, and then we have very good feeling that, okay, we are moving on. And then actually it's nothing that happens. It's often happening, especially in Japan.
Yeah, I think so. And also the decision maker is very slow and don't want to take a risk. So they are asking us, maybe me or Yokoyama-san, about their marketing or Amazon many times, but never make a decision. It happens in Japanese companies, so maybe it will irritating for the foreign companies as well.
Yeah.
And also, Japanese companies are very punctual and keep promise. So, like for foreign companies, it's not a big deal. Like 5 minutes late to start a meeting, but for Japanese companies, it's big matter. And yeah, like that.
They never trust people who are late for the meeting.
Mm. I see. So the punctuality on time, this is one of the success in the Japanese market.
Yes, and the difficulty is that even if you are late 5 minutes, Japanese people say, "Oh, okay," but it's not okay.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Hiroki-san, do you have any more like gaps that you feel so far?
It is a little bit similar, but since there are many areas of nonverbal communication that are not clearly verbalized in both business and personal life, it is necessary to understand the background, past stories, and human relationships without being bound by words. So from the perspective of foreigners, it feels like they are complaining even though they haven't been told.
So how non-Japanese company or non-Japanese merchant, how they can fulfill the gaps? Do you have any tips other than like a punctuality on time? Do you have so far like experience something works for them for a non-Japanese company?
If you guess, oh, I understand, I think you don't understand anymore. So please check time to time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Japanese people are not good at English, but it's only about conversation. If it's written exchanges like email or whatever, SNS or something, you can communicate in English easily. So don't rush them to talk on conversation basis. It's important.
Yeah, I think this is a very good point. Like what I feel is Japanese actually likes to read on the paper, like any document or materials. So if the first call doesn't go well, but follow up with a document or like a picture, whatever, something they can also need to internally circle all those documents, something to refer to. This is, I think, a good point.
And this is one more gap. Is Japanese companies are not so good at marketing or data analysis. So that means foreign companies have a big opportunity because they are how can I say manufacturer.
Yeah,
and,
their way is product out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their items are sold by their trading company or something. So they don't have enough the know-how for the marketing or data analysis. That's a big difference from the other foreign companies.
Okay, so we are getting out of the time in the session. Please advise to the global business audience, what is the tips expanding to the Japanese market? Let's start, Hiroki.
Okay. If you can find a partner who has business skills, be familiar with the Japanese market, and can translate both language and culture, I think it will be very challenging. The business customs are relatively transparent in Japan, so only hurdle is culture and language. And it is not only for Japan. I think it's important to start by understanding the customers, consumers who have a stricter perspective than the world average. If you can understand the Japanese customer, there are very many type of space for foreign companies.
I see. Thank you. Noboru?
Yeah, my comment is very similar to Yokoyama-san's. Japanese market and the Japanese way of business and the Japanese people are kind of not so easy to understand. So please find good partners in Japan, and I hope you success. Because I'm supporting the companies for Amazon market mainly, so let me add why Amazon Japan is so attractive right now. Can I talk about that like 1 minute? Yeah, like needless to say, Japan is big market, and Amazon is #1 EC share in Japan. Compared to other countries, economic damage by COVID-19 in Japan is rather small, and selling records in Japan could be good branding when you sell your items in China or other Asian markets. And at this moment, there are just a few foreign sellers, some, as Yokoyama-san said, from Korea or China only in Japanese market. So for other countries' merchants, still it's like blue ocean. You have big opportunity. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your joining our session today. And thank you, Noboru-san and Hiraki-san, for your very insightful discussions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.